I'd meet my fiance and his 5-year-old son were out getting Chipotle on March 14th. On the way home, we reached a busy intersection with a blinking yellow light. My fiance was driving, and I could tell he was about to go. I saw a car coming fast, and I very clearly told him to wait until the light was green. I don't know if he didn't hear me, didn't take me seriously, or just ignored me, but he kept driving forward anyway, and we got T-boned by a car going 50 miles per hour. Everyone else walked away fine, including his son, thank God. But I was crushed. I ended up with 2 full breaks in my pelvis, 2 fractures in my tailbone, fractures in my L4 and L5 vertebrae, and a fractured sternum. I was, and still am, in so much pain I can't even explain it. I wouldn't wish this kind of pain on anyone. I was rushed to the emergency room where everything was a complete blur except the trauma. I started having intense flashbacks, panic attacks, and nightmares about the crash and the pain. I had to undergo surgery where 2 7-inch steel screws were inserted into my pelvis. At the hospital, they gave me a back brace that was way too big for me. The nurses in physical therapy even admitted they didn't measure and just guessed my size. Even when we told them it was too big, they didn't do anything about it. And despite this, they expected me to stand up and move around wearing it. That brace did nothing for support. Moving in it felt like my spine and pelvis were being ripped apart. The pain I was in trying to follow their orders to stand and walk was inhumane. All I remember from those days is pain, frustration, fear, and this overwhelming sense of helplessness. After about a week, I was transferred to a physical rehabilitation center. I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to bathe, I didn't want to move. I was so depressed and in so much pain that even thinking about shifting in bed made me cry. I had to depend on strangers for the most basic things, going to the bathroom, bathing, even feeding myself. As someone who's always been independent, it was utterly humiliating and devastating. I'm home now, but my recovery is far from over. Doctors and physical therapists all told me the same thing. You have the second worst kind of break anyone can experience. You'll need at least a year to recover, if not longer. You can't put weight on your right leg for 3 months. No bending, no twisting. And even after the 3 months, it'll be a very slow process. And that's the part that's eating me alive. Because before this, I was finally getting my life together. I was working on my health, I was eating right, doing CrossFit regularly, getting stronger, and finally meeting people and socializing. I had just gone back to college. I was finally building structure into my life after being recently diagnosed with ADHD. And now, it's all on hold. I can't work out. I can't leave the house unless it's for a doctor's appointment. I can't do anything by myself. And it feels like I lost everything I was working so hard to build. And even though my fiance has been supportive through all of this and is helping take care of me, I'm so angry at him. I told him, I warned him. I said, don't go. Wait. And when I asked him why he kept going, he just said, I don't know. And that I don't know is now costing me an entire year of my life. Maybe more. And I'm the one who's paying for it every single day. So yeah, I just needed to get this off my chest. I feel trapped in my own body. I feel like I'm grieving the life I could have had this year. I feel angry, sad, helpless, and I'm just trying to make sense of it all. But mostly, I just want my life back. I know this is temporary, I know I'll eventually recover, but losing a year of my life, my sense of normalcy, and my peace of mind is really, really rough. If anyone has any advice on how I can work on this, or maybe even share their own experiences similar to this one, I'd greatly appreciate it. Top comment someone asked, was everyone in the car wearing seatbelts? Original poster replied, yes, everyone was wearing a seatbelt, somebody said. That would be a deal breaker for me. I have a permanent spinal injury. I can move and walk just fine on the good days, but on the bad days, I need crutches just to go to the loo. I am so sorry to say this, but this is not just a year. This is a lifetime injury now that you are going to have to deal with. You know what got me through mine? What keeps me going? Knowing that I can trust the people around me, good days or bad. Please seriously think about if 5 or 10 years down the line, will you be able to trust your fiancé? Or is the distrust and anger, which you have every right to feel, going to fester inside you and make those bad days 100 times worse when you see him? Now, this is the most important part. You will get through this. I absolutely believe that. I remember the day I accepted that I was going to get through it, because I was able to walk down to the tattoo shop near me, stand in line for 4 hours, and get a Friday the 13th tattoo to celebrate just being able to walk. You have a long road ahead of you, sister. Just know you aren't alone. Give me a shout if you want to vent. You should start seeing a therapist, maybe over Zoom first, and discuss this. Maybe start journaling as well. You should definitely talk with someone about this anger you have towards your fiancé, and you may want to do couples counseling. Update. I honestly didn't expect my post to receive this much attention. I was just venting my thoughts and emotions in the moment, as I'm still going through the stages of grief. Thank you to everyone who took the time to share their thoughts, advice, and support regarding my situation. I want to clear up a few things and provide some additional context, including my fiancé's perspective on why he didn't stop. To start, for those wondering about where the accident happened, since the rules around blinking yellow lights vary, it took place in Texas, within the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's all I'll share location-wise for privacy reasons. Next, a lot of people have asked whether my fiancé has shown remorse and how he's been supporting me since the accident. The answer is yes, he's been devastated. He has apologized to me multiple times, at the crash site, in the hospital, during rehab, and at home. He's also been having panic attacks himself as of lately, something that he's never experienced prior to the accident. There was one moment where he called me panicking because he couldn't find his truck keys and desperately wanted to come see me to make sure I'm doing okay. My mom had to drive over to calm him down and help. He also continued to visit me frequently in the hospital and at the rehab center, and he's been advocating for me when I had issues such as the back brace I was given, which was clearly too large. Side note, despite multiple people from my family, fiancé, and even the PTs mentioning it, the hospital staff didn't replace it. It wasn't until I called the hospital a week later frustrated that they finally took action. I had to put on my Karen voice and explain that their failure to properly size the brace was actively hindering my recovery. Eventually, I got a new one in a smaller size. Fun fact, the brace only comes in 2 sizes, S, M, and L, XL. I'll let you guess which one they gave me. My fiancé has also been helping me understand the insurance claim process. From what we know, I may be looking at around $100,000. Additionally, at home, he's made sure I have what I need to recover. He just bought me an over $300 bed frame that moves up and down similarly to the hospital beds I was used to, because I can't move up and down as normally without feeling pain or being at risk of re-breaking something. He's also been cooking for me and for my visiting family, helping me clean up, assisting with daily tasks, and has made it clear he doesn't expect me to lift a finger and only wants me to focus on healing. He's even told me how he's going to halt his plans on expanding his side business so that he can spend more time tending to me during my recovery. With this said, I've seen a lot of comments saying I should leave him or even sue him, calling him arrogant or careless. I understand those reactions, but looking back, I would have to admit that this was an honest mistake that anyone could make at any time of the day at any point of time. A bad mistake? Yes, but nonetheless, simple human error at the end of the day. I'm just angry that it's happened to me, but that is something I will have to work through on my own. With the "I don't know" reply that he had given me a week earlier, I will admit that he may have been still experiencing shock or trauma, and his mind seemed to have been drawing a blank when I had asked him, because I asked him the same question again today. Why didn't you stop when I told you to? He told me he thought the gap between us and the oncoming car was big enough to make it. He didn't realize how close it actually was. He also said he didn't hear me say stop until it was too late, at which point we were already hit. I told him I said it much earlier, and he admitted he just didn't hear me. He feels horrible. He's told me that every time he approaches a yellow light while driving now, he reminds himself of what happened and how stupid he feels for not being more careful that night. I'm not excusing what happened. It was traumatic, but I do believe he's learning from it and taking accountability for everything as best as he can. I'm just the angry, bitter one that is needing to work through my emotions and grief that I'm experiencing because of the accident. That said, I've resumed individual therapy, weekly now instead of monthly, and I had my first session since the accident as of yesterday, and my fiancé and I will be attending couples counseling together. Yes, I plan on staying with him. I know a lot of you are coming from a place of concern and care, and I truly appreciate that. At the same time, I want to gently remind everyone that I am a real person going through a very real and painful experience. What I shared was raw and vulnerable, not a call to be judged or attacked. It's okay to disagree with how I'm choosing to move forward, but please remember, I'm the one living this day by day. Healing, both physical and emotional, isn't linear, and I'm doing the best I can. Thank you again for the overwhelming response. I'm reading as many comments as I can, even if I can't reply to everyone. Please continue to take care of yourselves and those you love. Hold anyone you care about closely to you because when you least expect it, life can change in an instant. Relevant comments. Commenter. Not here to pass judgment on you or your fiancé, but wanted to ask one question I don't think I've seen. How has his son been since the accident? Obviously physically unharmed, but has anything changed you've observed from him seeing you undergo all this pain and rehab? Or possibly seeing his dad suffer any panic attacks? Hope all is well with you and your family, sending nothing but positive vibes. Original poster replied, his son only has seen me at the wreck and hasn't seen me since. Not at the hospital, not at the rehab center, and not back at home. He lives with his mother. He has asked if I'm okay, and I did get to speak on the phone with him briefly. For him personally, he had one nightmare and was worried about me for a few days in the first few days lost wreck. But since then, my understanding is that he's back to his bubbly self and is enjoying the extra attention from friends and family members as they are giving him surprise gifts and taking him out to his favorite restaurant.
I have been with my girlfriend Sarah for 3 years and been living together for 1.5. She is honestly everything I have ever wanted, and I am planning on proposing somewhere next year. So, 3 weeks ago I was out with Sarah at a local bar drinking and having a great time with her, as it was just after quarantine had ended where I live. At around 3 a.m., we decided to head home. As we headed to the parking lot where we had parked, we noticed a group of 2 girls and a guy who was clearly drunk trying to hit on them and get them to go to his house. The girls were clearly very uncomfortable and trying to find a way out. Sarah told me that we had to do something, and I told her to go call the cops and get someone as well, because the very least I wanted was her to get hurt during this. So I approached the group and tried to pretend I was the boyfriend of one of the 2 girls, and long story short, I got my ass kicked. The guy was at least 6 feet 4 inches and 220 pounds, whereas I'm 5 feet 11 inches, 167 pounds. I'm fairly muscular myself, but there was no way I could have taken someone that big. I knew it from the start. At least from all the noise we had made. A lot of people rushed to the scene and the girls got away safe. I was rushed to the emergency room because the dam had broken my ribs, which had punctured my right lung. Yay. After that incident, Sarah has grown distant from me. Even though she visited and stayed with me at the hospital, she hasn't been the same since. And I thought she just needed time to move past this. However, 5 days ago, she told me that she is not the same person after what happened, and she doesn't know if she feels safe with me after I got beat up like that. Honestly, hearing that hurt me more than when I got my ribs broken. She has moved to her parents for the time being, and she told me she needs time. Meanwhile, I had no one here to help me, so my brother left his 2 boys and wife to move in with me. I know I'm just venting at this point, but I don't want this to be over like that. Reddit, is there anything I can do to salvage the situation? Update. Until yesterday, it had been 14 days since my last contact with Sarah. My brother had left 4 days prior because I felt bad keeping him away from his family for so long. Plus, I could take care of myself to some extent. So around 2 p.m. while I was making lunch, I heard the doorbell ring. I go to open the door and there she is, Sarah. With tears in her eyes, eye bags, frizzy hair, looking like a total mess. During the time we've been together, I've seen her in her ups and downs, but I'd never seen her in such a horrible state before. So I let her sit on the couch. We still hadn't said a word, as we were both dumbfounded. I was so overwhelmed by emotions. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to full blast her. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So I did nothing and waited for her to talk. After 5 or 10 minutes of silence, she starts sobbing and saying she's sorry and then full on crying. At this point, I can barely hold myself together, so I hold her hand and try to calm her down so I can figure out what is going on. After a while, she finally somewhat calms down and starts talking. And that's where it got bad. Something that I didn't include in the original post, because it wouldn't make sense anyway, is that Sarah's mother has been divorced and remarried once. From what Sarah has told me, her biological father cheated on her mother while she was still a kid, and that's why they broke up. And that's also why she doesn't have any kind of relationship with her father. It seemed odd when I first learned about it, but I didn't question it. That is not the whole story, though. Sarah's biological father didn't only cheat on her mother, he was a drug addict that also used to beat her up frequently. Without getting into a lot of graphic detail, in one instance, when Sarah's brother tried to intervene and protect her mother, he ended up getting beat up too. So when she saw me intervening and getting my ass kicked in the bar incident, it triggered some kind of PTSD in her head that she could not control. That's why she had grown distant and eventually left. It all spiraled out of control, and she could not handle it. In those 2 weeks we'd been apart, she'd barely eaten or slept, and even made some really dark thoughts, which I'd rather not go into. She told me is a horrible girlfriend for leaving me alone in my condition, and that she doesn't expect us to be together again after that, which I told her isn't the case. So we have a very long road ahead of us. My number one priority right now is getting her to see a therapist, which I suggested we can do together if she's scared to do alone. So yeah, that's where we are at. Some of you were right, that there was some deeper issue behind what happened, but I could not have possibly known. I also wanted to take this opportunity to say something that I got messaged about a lot. I got a lot of comments and messages saying that I was a moron for what I did at that parking lot, and that I should mind my own business next time and not play the hero, etc. First of all, I did not initiate the fight with the dude. As I said, when I got there, I tried to pretend I was the boyfriend of one of the girls in case. When that didn't work, I got between the girls and the dude, trying to create some space between them, and that's when he started to push me and eventually started throwing punches. Secondly, no matter how hard I hit the gym, I would never be able to take that guy one-on-one. As I said, I'm pretty fit and I've been working out for several years, but the fellow was a lot bigger than me. Unless I had a gun or something, which isn't legal in my country, I was doomed. Finally, for the people telling me to mind my own business, well, let me tell you exactly what I was doing. It is mine and everyone else's responsibility to look after the ones who can't protect themselves in this shitty world. No, I do not consider myself a hero, nor did I do it for the show. I did it because in some other instance one of those girls could have been my girlfriend, sister, mother needing help. And these girls were somebody else's girlfriend, sister, or mother. If I was put in that situation 100 more times, I would act the same. I also talked to her about the proposal I wanted to make this year. I was planning on doing it as a surprise, but in the way things have turned out, I figured it would be better if she knew it first. We both agreed it should be delayed for now. Top comments. Somebody said, "You did well, dude. You did really well. Both in what you did standing in for those girls and what you are now doing with your girlfriend." Not every argument can be won by using fists, and not every battle you fight you are going to win. But doing the right thing is when you start actually winning for real. And even though you may think you lost a fight, you should understand and be happy with the fact that you won anyway. You stood up for what was right. And that's a win in my book. If everyone did as the naysayers claim and minded your own business, well, it just makes the world a darker place. Unless people like yourself stand up, even at the risk of coming out second best, things just turn slowly to crap. You and I, and others here, know that this is not the world we wish to live in. So work through this with your girlfriend, do the therapy and keep talking about things. You'll both get to a much better place. And live a long and happy life, and never be afraid of doing what is right. Another comment. I think it's terrible people are telling you to mind your own business. You did a good thing, and I think standing up for someone regardless of their gender, race, etc., when they're clearly being intimidated is a noble thing. Even if it's someone who is obviously bigger than you potentially saved them from being assaulted, raped, or even murdered. And while we all wish you didn't have to endure being assaulted and protecting them, you took the brunt of that force and hostility, not something to judge lightly. About Sarah, as someone with PTSD myself, I can tell you it really does freak people up to have it triggered, and I am glad you are understanding and helping her. I dated a dumbass a few years back who actively denied me even having PTSD in addition to triggering it, and it was horrifying. You're a good man. She's lucky to have you.